TIL that the first victim of 9/11 was Danny Lewin. He understood the hijackers on Flight 11 and tried to thwart the hijacking, but was unfortunately killed. Nobody really knows what happened on that flight. With all due respect to Danny Lewin and the other passengers, and the person who relayed information via the airphone, all of this is complete speculation. Edit. Thanks for all the down votes. I'm not wrong, but you be you, down voters. I would like to hear the recording from AA11 that confirms Ops article's speculative story. His younger brother was my best friend 12 years old before they moved away. I was fascinated by their Apple II. They had a dedicated second phone line so they could auto-dial looking for bulletin boards. What was the very early days of the internet. That and they introduced me to DD. Such a cool family. Proud he went out fighting. His was a noble death. One thing I've always wondered is how do they have so much detail about what happened on the flights prior to them hitting the towers in Pentagon? I know there are flight recorders, but I figure those were just audio in the cockpit. How would they know about what Mr. Lewis did in the passenger area? One thing that is not always understood is that before 9/11 plane hijackers would just land the plane somewhere and demand ransom. So most passengers sat there and didn't do much because they didn't realize they had no chance of making it if the terrorists went through with their plan. That's why the two biggest reasons it's hard for a 9/11 attack to happen again are the impenetrable cockpit door and non-compliant passengers. No offense to the good work done by the TSA confiscating grandma's shampoo. So one of our special forces dudes couldn't handle these box knife guys. GDFO sounds as realistic as a plane hit the Pentagon. But let's disregard the testimonials of those who saw a helicopter fire a missile at it. If I was on that plane with my kids, it wouldn't have went down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in that first class cabin and then me saying, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely, don't worry. Not to discredit this in any way, but how exactly do we know? All the article says is a quote from his brother saying from what we heard from the Americans. What is the primary source? In a world of fake patriots nowadays, Danny, you are the truest patriot any of us can ever dream of being, and you did it in the most extreme of situations and you rose to the occasion. That website is not even trying to seem like anything but propaganda. I would take everything they write with a heap of skepticism. Subtlety is a lost art it seems. How did they figure this out? I'm legitimately curious and I'm sure there's an answer, it's just not in the article. They even had it down to his time of death. I can't believe nobody has mentioned he founded Akamai Technologies. It's a publicly traded company and currently valued at approximately $15 billion. He was also the founder of Akamai Technologies. Mourn him every time his URL shows up while one of your web pages is loading and then immediately goes away. Can someone please tell me what the circumstances were for them to get this info? This info must have been recorded or relayed during the hijacking, right? Who confirmed this story? Also an Israel Special Forces soldier. Very doubtful he couldn't subdue someone with a box cutter. This pure bullshit. On the outside of Akamai's headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts, there's a bronze statue of Danny sitting on a bench, a plaque honoring him. I went to high school with his son. If you see this, know that people remember your dad fondly and the whole country thanks him. Zychrone Overchat. Anybody else watching Hijack on Apple TV? Honestly, it's pretty great, but I'm not sure people are going to watch it because it's on Apple TV, from what we heard from the Americans. Ah, there we go. You had me in the first half though. Anyone on the plane can confirm. I'm a bit skeptical. Things are like this are why it pisses me off that people who weren't alive at the time think 9/11 jokes are funny and it's just dark humor. Till nobody remembers the payphones that used to be on airplanes. Nobody ever really used them, to be honest. It was very expensive. Was he the ex-Special Forces guy who had multiple confirmed close-quarter kills, or am I thinking of someone else? So everyone on the plane was killed and this was in the pre-smartphone era. How do we know this happened? If this guy was on a plane that slammed into the WTC, how does anyone know what he did or when he did it? Better go out fighting than on your knees. Fuck those hijackers. And everything they stood for. Just. How? I hate that the witness just stood there and did nothing, only to report this later. I don't understand how they knew Danny Lewin did this when no one survived to tell the story. I always thought the IDF were badasses. Siegel or Norris would have made them eat his boxers. I've a question. How do they know what went down on that plane? Or those planes? The only thing the IDF can stop is Palestinian kids who want to play soccer ball. The way he's smiling in the thumbnail makes him look like Quentin Tarantino. How do they know this happened? Who survived on the plane and reported this? Hard to use such a paltry word as heroic to describe his actions. Just bought the book and look forward to reading it. Toda. Out of curiosity, how do we know what he did on the plane? Why didn't he just wait for Homelander? Is he stupid?